So I hope you guys can see me with the beautiful sunrise off to the starboard side. It might be in the lens a little bit, but initially we're just going to start this test by running through some of the slower speeds, because she does appear to be a good thing at some of those slower speeds. So I'm just doing 4 knots speed over ground at the moment. We are in a tidal area, so it appears to be high tide at the moment, so I don't think there's going to be too much effect from the tide, and there's no wind, as you can probably observe. So RPM of about 1,000 RPM, we're running the twin V8 300 horsepower. The standards are the 225s, and we've got about 75% of fuel in the tanks, a little about 570 odd litres on either side. So I'm just going to increase that speed through 1,500 RPM. I'm seeing a speed over ground of 5 knots. Let's get up to 10. So I've got the zip wakes in auto, I've got the active trim on. You can do single lever quite comfortably on this boat should you choose. I'm going to be observing for debris and fishermen's nets particularly today, because there are fishermen out here doing their morning catch, I suppose. So 2,500 revs and rising. I'm seeing 9 knots speed over ground, and I've got a fuel flow of 25 litres per side. We're talking about litres per hour, and speed over ground is going to be in knots today. And we're in Thailand. Welcome to another absolutely beautiful destination. Pattaya is off in that direction. We're a little bit further south in a wonderful national park. So I'm seeing 10 knots speed over ground, a fuel flow of still about 25, 26 litres per side, and just under 3,000 RPM, just under 3,000 RPM. Because they're the Mercuries, these engines are quiet and are not intrusive to our ability to hold conversation or relax. So just increasing that now over 3,000 revs. I'm just seeing 3.2, 3.3, and there we go. 12 knots felt a little bit awkward, and so I think she prefers 13. I'm just going to settle that down a little bit. She almost wanted to lurch up and get straight to 14, so I might just go with that. I'll listen to the boat, because at 3,300 revs, I'm seeing 13.8 to 14 knots, and that feels good. That feels good. I'm seeing a fuel flow of around about 30 litres per side at that speed. The attitude is level, the noise levels are minimal, and as you would expect with a power catamaran like this, it's just super stable. I want you to pay attention to some of the drone footage later on as we speed up. I do fly the drone around the front of the boat, because I've noted, this is our second day of testing now, I've noted that it's not throwing any water out the front and up over the windscreen like some catamarans can have a tendency to do. So just increasing that speed to 16 knots now. Feels really good. Fuel flow has jumped. We're seeing about 40 litres a side now. And I'm just going to start coming through a gradual turn. Another thing that's worth noting with this boat, she's a bit of a driver's boat. She kinda at times leans into these turns. She doesn't feel completely like a traditional catamaran, just observing some debris in the water. I'm going to go around that. I'm doing that at 18 knots, an RPM of 4,100 RPM, and carry that turn consistently now, and a fuel flow about 40 litres a side. It's interesting, when you're going through the turns, the inside motor really burns a lot more fuel, so it must be working harder in the turns. Okay, I'm going to straighten that out now. A little bit of debris up ahead. I'm maintaining 20 knots. I'm going to increase that speed now. Increasing that speed from 20 to 21 knots, 4,500 revs. Feels good. We're using about 50 litres a side there. Very nice. Okay, I'm standing up, but sitting down's not going to be a problem on this boat. This really does feel like a driver's catamaran. She looks great, but this sensation you get here at the helm, the visibility all around feels good. She feels like she actually wants to go a little bit faster now, to be fair. So let's go from 22 at 4,500 revs up to 4,800, 4,900. And I'm seeing 24 to 25, 65 litres a side there. And that feels good. And what we're going to do, we're going to put the boat into a turn, port side, fishermen on starboard, clear all around. And we're going to do a nice steady turn here. And we're coming around at 25 knots, seeing 65 litres a side, 4,800 to 5,000 RPM. Noise levels are still acceptable. They're still acceptable. As a matter of fact, I have a decibel meter on my new watch, so let's check it. Okay, so it is actually registering 90 decibels here at the helm, but it doesn't feel intrusive. Maybe that's because the sound's reverberating through these open sides here. I know the Yamahas are a lot noisier than these things. So, 4,900 RPM. I'm going to transition back to standing. You do need to slide your bum either side. I like how the throttle position is just set a little bit aft of the wheel, so that feels comfortable. Zip wakes are doing their thing. And now let's increase our speed. Let's sustain 24. So now I'm seeing a fuel flow nudging 70 litres a side, a little bit of debris up ahead. So she does have a tendency to gradually lean into those turns. I'm going through some of my boat wash now. It's typical catamaran stuff, very smooth. We had some wind chop yesterday in our testing, so you might see some of that in our drone footage, but it was very, very comfortable, which is interesting because this catamaran has been designed with a little bit less beam as opposed to some of the competition, so you can still fit it into a marina berth, but it's definitely a sporty feeling catamaran drive. I don't know if that's the right wording, but that's what I'm feeling. 5,100 RPM. I'm going to go wide open throttle now. That's giving me 26.5 knots, about 70 litres per motor, and let's give it full noise. Okay, full noise, still got the zip wakes active. I've still got the active trim. I'll turn it off in a second just to see if that makes any difference. I'm seeing 5,700 RPM and climbing. I'm seeing 90 litres consumption per side. I'm seeing 30 knots speed over ground and climbing. 31.5 now. Sustained. Let's go. Zip wakes, let's go. Active trim off. Okay. Feels sporty. And I can see 32 knots there at wide open throttle. 32.5. Little bit of bow raise with the trim off. And 33. Plenty of speed, but let's start to knock that down now. Do more sensible stuff. And we are a heavy boat. We've got 75% of fuel, we got equipment, and there's 3 people on board. So that's a relatively fair test in flat conditions. So it does feel like a lot of these power catamarans at certain parts of the rev range, your engines are not being completely efficient. So some of those, and you'll just notice by the wash coming out of the prop going up into the air rather than into the water. I've noticed that on other power cats. Any engineers who want to jump in the comments and tell me why that is, feel free to do so. That's what this channel's all about. Let's educate one another. But I do see some really nice, comfortable speeds in those mid-teens there, and then the low 20s, not a problem. And obviously we can see that our capability is at wide open throttle up in the low 30s. So I think what we need to do from here we're going to relocate to another position and test the slow speed maneuverability. I've already done that in the marina and it's great. And the joystick, if you're not a joystick person, it's a lot easier on a catamaran because those engines are so much wider. So if you have experienced a joystick on a monohull where the engines are next to one another, this is a completely different feeling. It's quite relaxing. And because of our access to the side, forward and aft decks from the helm, we have multiple ways to move around without interfering with our guests. It makes life quite relaxing. So I think I'll see you in the next part and we'll demonstrate that for you. Okay guys, on the way to this location, we did actually find a few waves because there was some tidal flow moving between some rocks. So that'll come up on the drone footage now for you. And as I predicted from looking at the other drone footage over the last 2 days, we didn't send any water forward and out over the decks as we passed up waves and then upswell and then downswell. So it was quite a comfortable ride, no slamming, wasn't enough waves to induce any of that anyway, but maintained good speeds and quite smooth as expected. So we're in a shallow location. We don't have any marinas to play with in this part of town, so we're just going to do this with some mountains as our reference point. And I'm going to start off with the throttles first, just to do some transverse thrust. Just want you to pay attention to your visibility on this boat. It's excellent. It really is excellent. So your maneuverability, like moving from the helm to the midship cleats and forward, obviously starboard seems logical, but you can go port too. And then when we test the transverse thrust, which I'm going to do now, you really do have a lot of control because we've got both engines at quite a distance from one another. So as you can see there, I've got really good control over the vessel just by using throttles only. But obviously we have a joystick on this boat as well. So we can just refer straight to the joystick. And if you're not used to doing transverse thrust on the old throttles, you can just set your power setting from like 1 to 5 on these joysticks and it'll do it for you. So that is super simple. Look at that rate of turn and I can slow that down or speed it up as I see fit. And you do notice the extra control that you have when you are operating engines with a decent amount of width in between the two of them. And now I'm just gonna, using that little mountain as my reference point and this rock over here, I'm gonna side slip the boat to port. So let's just do that now. And just look at the control. We're going to cut to some overhead shots for this as well. And you can actually see by using that drone footage what is happening below the waterline. We've deliberately come to this calm water for you to get a feel for that. But see how I can really just by doing minimal joystick inputs, I am having to do a little bit of turning, minute amounts of turning to keep the boat under control there. And now I'm just going to actually slow that down. So to maintain a consistent attitude, you do have to turn it a little bit, but it's not too difficult. And again, because you have the motors so far apart, you've got heaps of control. Now let's just go back the other way. So if you've got a big bit of distance to cover, like a couple of meters, you can just run this thing in with speed. But then as you get closer to the dock, you can just slow it down, and let's just put some opposite turn. You really do have a lot of control. So if you're wanting to just walk the thing into the dock, like look at this, I could just stand right here. I got great viz forward and aft. I can touch or reach this midships cleat here, and I can just walk this thing in like so on the starboard side. And even if I was taking it in on port side, my viz is quite acceptable. So I like this boat from a operational perspective, from an owner-driver perspective. She's fun to drive, but she's also easy to maneuver
and park. So that's a good thing. So what we're going to do now, we're going to drop the anchor and then wrap this video for you.
So anchoring is relatively straightforward on a boat like this, guys. You don't have to worry about the anchor swinging and hitting the bow because it's obviously in between the two other bows. We're going to operate it from here at the helm. We decided to do it from up the front so we could have a good visibility on what was going on because it's the first time we've anchored the boat. But yeah, not too much to it just there, all pretty straightforward. So that's the Yacht 36. I'm going to describe this as a driver's power catamaran. It is quite enjoyable to drive. Obviously the looks are quite appealing in my personal opinion, but her sensation, slightly leaning in through the turns, she really is a smooth thing across the chop, the little bit of chop that we did find today, or small waves, and the wind chop that we found yesterday. So it's a pleasure to drive. It's easy to operate short-handed if that's important to you, and moving around the decks is fine. Obviously, being a 36-footer and packing in so much volume or so many seats in 4 meters beam, if you load this boat up with a lot of your friends, you are going to have to think in advance where they are positioned because you're not necessarily going to have enough space to move around other people if they're all standing around you at the helm. So just factor that in. If you've got lots and lots of friends with you and you need to do a maneuver, sit them down at the seats and make sure you've got clear access to whichever side of the decks that's necessary. Necessary, that's the word I'm looking for, for you. So yeah, if that was valuable, always give us a like, give us a share. I'm putting some more exclusive content up on the website. The link's down below, and you can contact me. You could contact me to ask questions via the links below in the description. Jump on and have a look at a competing catamaran that's popping up on the screen right now, and do your own research because that's why I make these videos. It's so you can educate yourself to improve your boat life. I'm Dan Jones. You've been watching Dan's Boat Life. See you in the next one.